Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. We have a great show for you today. I'm really excited about this. We have three of the smartest folks in the EUC space today, and they're going to share with us a sneak preview of the world-famous VDI Like a Pro survey. So you guys might be familiar with this, and if not, then definitely you'll enjoy the episode and learn all about what this is and some of the results. So these guys have been doing this for quite some time now. And basically what they do is they go out and survey the community, right? They survey the EUC space and ask them just tons of questions related to, VDI and DaaS and this whole world called end-user computing. And then once all that, that survey's done, then they post the results. So today we have the great privilege of having the VDI Like a Pro guys, Mark, Ruben, and Christian with us. And, I think they might even share some of the insights of the 2020 survey that is not even complete yet. So what do I say? With no further ado, let's just dive straight into it. Sound good, guys? So I'm very happy to have Mark.
Okay,
Ruben,
guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me. I'm quite looking forward to this. I don't think I usually have, multiple. Usually we do one-on-one guests, but it's always fun to do multiples and have three guys like you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's see where in the heck this thing ends up, right? So that being said, let's go around the horn and do some introductions. So, Mark, can you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so hey, I'm Mark Plettenberg. I'm a product manager at Login VSI, where I have a lot of experience breaking VDI environments. So I made my job in making them better. And with VDI Like a Pro, we like to look at the market, but Ruben has a bit more info on that, I think.
Well, on that note, Ruben, can you tell us who you are? What are you up to nowadays?
Yeah, sure. Hey, I'm Ruben. Last name is Spruijt, Dutch guy, active in the EUC space for a long time. I work at Nutanix as technologist and joined Nutanix through acquisition of Frame. And yeah, good stuff happening in the EUC space, especially these days, unfortunately, but great to share more insights about EUC and also share insights around community power and where you can help.
You got it. And then for our newest member of the bunch, the youngest member of the crew, Christian, can you tell us who are you and what are you up to nowadays?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Christiaan Brinkhoff. I work as a global black belt from Microsoft. Due to an acquisition, I was part of the Avis Logic's success, and we got acquired as well. I just like being active in EUC, as Ruben said as well. Crazy, but as well interesting times happening and shifts from traditional VDI to desktop as a service. So we will talk about it later on as well. And I really am like an ambassador of community initiatives, and that's the reason why I'm part of VDI Like a Pro as well. And I probably can be honest as well, without community, I probably didn't have the job that I had today. So I'm really blessed from the things that you get back in return doing things for the community. So
yeah,
I love that, because I think that we could all say the same, right? The community has been a blessing for all of us, but at the same time it's been a pure joy, right? It's I don't think any of us have ever done community for what we get out of it, but the joy that except for maybe the joy that we get out of it, right? I've been blessed to know all you guys and so many others, right? What a true joy. But before we get into the teamwork and community power and things of that nature, Ruben, maybe you can give us a little bit of history and background. I know you've been doing this stuff for the survey for quite some time, and it's even taken different name changes, right? So Can you maybe give us some of the history and background on this?
Yeah, sure. I think it was 2012 when a community project called Project VRC, Project Virtual Reality Check, started. And the first activities with VRC was really around benchmarking, finding best practices, finding performance guidelines. And that was really a community effort. Jeroen van der Kamp, Mark, Sven, Ryan, many EUC friends were part of that early phase of VRC. And the focus of VRC, as I mentioned, was performance guidelines, performance benchmarking, comparing hypervisors, measuring impact of advertising, antivirus, different CPUs, like this whole spectrum that happened in 2012. And what happened over time is that more and more people were downloading large white papers, big white papers. And, well, we're not really collecting as the goal, but, well, we were collecting email addresses. And over time, we thought, well, why not just ask peers in the field, vendors, customers, just questions around how do they use EUC, VDI, server-based computing technologies. So we set up a survey, started in 2012, and just asked questions. And the first survey was big, 20 minutes. It took 20 minutes to fill in the survey, and that gave great insights. And that survey was then part of Project VRC as well. Then Project VRC changed name to VRC, and then actually we stopped Project VRC and VRC, and together with Mark and Christian, we started VDI Like and VDI Like also had two topics, is benchmarking and survey. So it was a natural evolution from A to B, and that's where we are right now. 2020, we launched the new survey couple of weeks ago, and it's still open, so you can participate in that. And that's a great asset to have. It's really unique. It's the biggest survey in the EUC space worldwide. It's great to see hundreds. Last year, I think 700 or close to 700 people supported the survey, which is great because more people filling in the survey, more data points, is better data and great insight. So it's really community power. It's not paid. It's just community love around end user computing, and that is happening, and that's great to be part of that team.
You bet. You mentioned community power, and my job on a daily basis is I run the IGEL community, right? And what we've seen out of that within IGEL is phenomenal. Of course, I knew it because I've been doing this for a long time with folks like you. What I know has not come from my knowledge or from me; it's come from folks like you. So, can you maybe share a bit about what you're seeing around community power and leave it at that?
Yeah, what I see is like yourself as well. It's great to start new communities, I think we all did and all do, and it's also great to help others who are new in the community, or maybe not new in the community, but didn't start anything yet, to help them. And that's what I also see, for instance, with Go EUC, another community, great community, where they are focused on benchmarking, the same as VRC did in the past, or Project VRC did in the past. It's great to see that others are stepping up, building their own community, extending that idea, and just run that community. And it's great to inspire other people, to help other people. And I think that's also a task for, I would say, more the seasoned people like yourself, and in some degree myself as well, to help others in this space to be successful in EUC, to grow both business and personal wise. And I think that's a great task for us. It gives also a lot of energy, and you learn while doing, while helping others.
To elaborate a little bit on that, so take it as an example, and you start your career, and you do a project, or you start implementing an EUC environment. What do you do? So you can start reading the manuals that you get from the vendor itself, but most likely you start typing it in on one of the search engines that we have, and you start searching for community blogs, and you learn more from a blog, and that helps you to implement something faster and learn from others. and think about that, and think about as well people that continue doing that and building that community and move forward with that community. And that was as well the reason why I started community stuff, is doing something back, because you consume, you learn from others, and if nobody takes the initiative to do something back, then the community will bleed to that, basically. And we don't want to do that. And it brings you great things in your career, as Ruben is saying. So yeah, all great things. So yeah, if you think about doing community stuff right now, and you are thinking about doing it but are not convinced about it, I hope we can take away some of those concerns during this this podcast.
It's very interesting how Google changed into a search engine for you now. You work for a big major vendor.
So the Google search engine, Bing search engine, doesn't matter. You will find your blog in there. You are sharp, Mark, in the morning.
Yeah, community is amazing. You know, when I started doing Citrix work in the 90s, there was, the Citrix website was very simple, just like every website. In the way that we learned how to do it was the power of each other, right? And I say it almost daily, and that is, together we are better. And the result is, we get to meet all these amazing people. I always say I can go to almost any country and know somebody nowadays. And it's not because I'm great. It's because I'm part of this great thing, right? And what a joy that has brought to my life, right? And it's been good for my career too, but that was never the goal. The goal was just helping each other out. It wasn't, okay, I'm going to help everyone. No, I was helped one guy, that helped another person, he helped me. And that is, to me, the true power of community. It's just the joy of together we are better.
And for me, getting people together physically, I mean, a bit complicated right now, but it's a big part of it. I do like that a lot. Being able to talk to people, hang out in a bar, having conversations. Probably still going to be geeky subjects anyway, but that's a lot of fun. And things grow out of hand. I mean, we organized our own event last year for the first time. We were aiming for 50 people. Like, hey, if we can get 50 crazy people in the same venue and talk about VDI all day long, yay, let's do it. 250 show up. So it's crazy what community does.
So to summarize that a little bit, so basically we are three like modernized like nerds, basically. So if you think about nerds like 20 years ago, that was like someone with the glasses on and looked like a typical nerd. We are like, I think, modern nerds specialized in EUC. I think that's a good summary out of that.
Do we know how I call that? I call it geek. So geek is a social nerd. We are all social guys. It's in some degree, right? The one more than the other. But yeah.
I'm very good around people that are like-minded, but you put me in a situation without the nerds, then I shy up and run away pretty darn quickly.
So Doc basically looked like a gangster nerd right now, or a geek, right?
That's the Corona beard.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get into the survey stuff, because this is really fascinating what you guys are doing and the results you get, right? And again, this is still ongoing, so there's so much you can share. But before we get into talking a bit, or me, prodding you for as much info as you'll share with me about 2020, can we talk a bit about 2019 and what you saw in 2019 and maybe something that surprised you and things of that nature?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's a big white paper which you can download for free on VDILikeAPRO.com, which includes all the 2019 results. I think the first couple of pages were more the summary, and then further along in the white paper, you see all the details with interesting graphs.
And the descriptions get shorter further on in the white paper, because it's 70 pages, and at some point we're just getting tired of it. Like,
Yeah, that's probably my fault. We'll see how we can do this year, right?
Let's start at the last question and work our way up.
I think one of the I would say also differences, which is a good segment into like 2019, is there's a lot of demand and movement in cloud and desktop as a service. Like 2019, one of the questions is like, hey, are you considering desktop as a service? And a substantial amount of people are seriously considering on-premises and moving, or are using on-premises and moving to desktop as a service offering. And that was 2019. I don't have yet that 2020 number. Maybe Mark and or Christian can find that number in the podcast. We'll see how that goes when we share some early results of 2020. But that was a clear also sign for all three of us. Like, hey, 2020 survey, we should also split up the survey and have a little bit different approach and spend more time in on-premises, public cloud. Differentiate between single user, multi-user, especially with multi-user in capabilities with Win10 Enterprise multi-session. So that's where 2020 started and moved to 2020. 2019 started and moved to 2020. Funny results. So 2019, 75% of the people who filled in the survey, and it was roughly 640, something like that. Was using Win10, so 75% was using Win10, surpassing Win7. VMware virtualization usage for both like VDI, single user, and multi-user scenarios is declining. So VMware virtualization usage is declining. 86% in 2017, close to 60% in 2019, and a little bit later we'll share what the early results are for 2020. Only half of the respondents patched their system monthly, is an interesting observation in 2019. OMS, Microsoft OMS and SCOM are the most popular monitoring solution for server-based computing, multi-user, multi-session, and VDI, single user, single session. Another one, let's see, application layering, which is not the same as application virtualization or application isolation, but application layering was not being used a lot in 2017. 74% in 2017 was not using layering, while in 2019, 60% was not using application layering. So that's an interesting one. We'll see what 2020 will bring soon. Around GPU, graphical processor unit adoption is increasing. No GPU was 87% in 2014 and 43% in 2019. The question doesn't say anything about how many GPUs are being used. It's more the question, do you use GPUs in your environment? So even if you use maybe 2 hosts with GPUs and you have 200 hosts without GPU, that question doesn't say anything about the ratio, but it's still good and great to see that GPU adoption is ramping up. Question around dual monitor support. What kind of monitor configuration do you have? Close to 60% of the community peers, vendors, customers who filled in the survey are using a dual display configuration. And if you look at the details in the white paper, you can see that dual display full HD is the monitor configuration which is being used most of the time. And finally, around cloud, the biggest challenges for public cloud are cost, 23%, trust, 11%. Business case creation or positive business case creation is also 11%, and also performance is 11%. So these are the 4 biggest challenges for public cloud filled in 2019. And why public cloud is interesting in the context of end user computing. Pay as you go, 11%. Disaster recovery, business continuity, 11%. And a cloud first strategy is 13%, and reduced risk is 12%. So yeah, different. You can see also the questions and answer different type of questions. Some of them are really tech. What kind of technology are you using? How is your setup? But also questions around, hey, what are your challenges? What are your EUC initiatives for 2019, 2020? There was a question in last year. Top of my head, I think Win10 was the first one. The second one was desktop as a service. Third one was Office 365. Or maybe the second one was Office 365 and the third one was desktop as a service. But for sure, Win10, Office 365, and DaaS were the 3 key initiatives in 2019. So
yeah, we're seeing major changes there this year. This is one of those questions that has been stable for a long time. Not a lot happened there, but for this year, maybe we can spill some of the secrets. I mean, it's ongoing. Let me just pull up that question.
Let's jump to that. Let's get to 2020. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good to me. Mark,
so yeah, it's a long report, right? So
don't spoil all the beans, right? So just
I was looking for desktop as a service, but that's not. That's not a good question to look for in our survey. There's a lot of questions about desktop as a service currently. So let's see. I think that
maybe
the
you can
title
jump
is
to the
initiatives,
question.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Jump to that question. That would be great.
Let me see. So, top initiatives for this year. Winner, desktop as a service. That's a big change. Wasn't on the first place at all. Like you said, Ruben, GPUs, Office, and Windows 10 have always been popular. Actually, on the second shared place, together with GPU, both have the same number of respondents, is actually application container technology, such as MSIX App Attach, and sharing that with GPU. So major changes in the market, right? We do know that GPUs, I think this year, are going to pass for the first time in popularity the people who do not use a GPU in VDI. I think that's a trend we'll see. So it's interesting to see that application container technologies are actually this popular as well.
Yep.
Or at least initiatives. People are thinking about it, right? We don't know if they're actually implementing it, but it's top of mind for them. And let's see what else is popular.
Very interesting. I want to, before you get to what else, I wanted to ask you the question because I hear a lot of hype around, DaaS and definitely WVD, and rightfully so, right? But is the data showing it? And what you're saying it is, have you guys broken it down? You don't have to share the stats, but have you broken it down into the different types of DaaS solutions? So, maybe private or, or whatever, right? Or, versus WVD or what have you. Is it that granular?
Yeah. So, we that's a big change from 2019 to 2020 is that 2019 was a little bit more focused on like on-premises, like traditional VDI, server-based computing. And with 2020, we clearly made a different approach, a couple of questions up front, like DaaS question, and based on your response, you get a larger set of DaaS questions. And if you're not interested in DaaS, you don't get these questions.
Oh, and very interesting.
That gives us a lot of flexibility to add more DaaS questions when you're in a DaaS space, and don't disturb and you don't need to spend time around DaaS if you're not interested in DaaS. So that's a different approach than 2019.
It's also interesting behind the scenes because we actually have too many questions. The hardest thing we have to do every year is it's not writing the report. It's not coming up with the questions. It's shooting down the questions, right? Yep. It's so easy to come up with 100 or 200 questions. And then, the first half, it's easy to dismiss them, right? It's not hard. But then you get down to we wanted to hit, I think, about 60 questions this year. At some point, you're at 65, what you think good questions, right? So how do you decide on the last 5 that got to go? These are the toughest discussions, but they're actually also a lot of fun because it shows you where our priorities are, right? We also try to follow the market.
Very interesting.
So coming back
to
the correlation between 2019 and 2020. So what we saw in the 2019 results is that server-based computing, the term for RDSH, multi-session based on server-based operating systems. The vast majority was using Server 2016 for that. And during that question, we already prepared in 2019 what the interest would be for Windows 10 multi-session. But during that survey moment, Windows Virtual Desktop was not released yet. It was in a private or public preview during that time frame, and we now prepared the questions to make an option for that as well. And we definitely see an interest in there, and we correlate, as Mark already said, based on, I have the questions here in front of me, where are your workloads, your machines hosted? So we ask people the question on premises, including like co-located data center locations like private cloud, hybrid, and as well public cloud, completely full-blown, born in the cloud like kind of way solution as well. So that is where we dispatch and change to the different subjects and as well type of questions. But you can have a hybrid scenario, and then we ask the same questions over, and then we can correlate as well between like now and 5 or 3 years from now, what the shift is and if it goes fast or not. So that's the great thing about this survey as well. So we definitely see an interest in the movement to DaaS, and especially as well cloud solutions that are released in the time frame from last year and today.
Very interesting. You give different questions to different people based on their answers. Then, does that skew the bigger results? And would somebody not see a question because they maybe answered another question a different way?
Yep. Correct. But these are all questions that should not be relevant to you. If you answer, for example, the question, do you have DaaS, or are you thinking about it? If you answer no, then there's no point in us asking, where are you hosting your desktops in the cloud? Right. So
you got it, because that would negatively actually it would negatively affect it because they're not using it. So by doing this, you're actually giving better results.
Yes. Well, and they're cleaner. So there's always also the option for other or not sure or no, so people can drop out per question, and we also monitor the dropouts. So again, a little bit behind the scenes, I guess. Dropouts are important. Like if we look at questions and we see that a lot of people get stuck there, then we need to improve the question if they drop out there. We had one question that nobody answered. That's where I made a boo-boo in the logic, so it never appeared on anybody's screen. It's those kinds of things. And then the last thing we monitor is actually what people fill in the other box, because it's a free form, right? So if we see a certain trend in there that's a vendor that we've forgotten or things like that, then we'll add them to the list as well of default choices.
So one of the purpose of doing that is as well decreasing the time that you need to take to fill in the survey seriously. So as I remember correctly, our average time to fill in the complete survey last year was around 15 minutes. And I think right now we have around 10 minutes. So we decreased with like 5 minutes in time. Yeah. It makes it more interesting as well for people to fill it in, because time is scarce and we're all busy. So there was a purpose and a reason to split up those questions as well.
Yeah. And 10 minutes is still like 10 minutes, right? But if you look at the depth and look at the details and just the info you get when you fill in the survey. Of course, you help others, but you also help yourself by filling the survey. So the 10 minutes is 10 minutes, is precious time for sure. But if this survey is new for you, I know for sure if you're in the EUC space, like deep or maybe like not too deep, doesn't matter. There is always something you will learn from the survey. So it is really the 10 minutes well spent for yourself, but also for others in our space. So
even just getting an overview of which GPUs are available in the cloud. I didn't know the list of GPUs that were available on Google Cloud, for example. Now I know, because we had to prepare that question, right? And so there's a lot of things that you can read from it. And I know for a fact that a lot of EUC-related companies are using this also as a database for, hey, where should we go with our products? What are trends and initiatives? Because I think we're the only ones that are trending this since 2013 and are giving it away.
Yep.
You bet.
And also like big scale, like not like a survey with 10 people who fill in a couple of questions. No, it's like hundreds of people who fill in the survey with in total maybe 40, 50 different questions, depending on the structure and which responses you gave. It's really comprehensive and unique.
And to sum that all up in one like pretty famous quote is that, I don't know which or who quoted that sentence, but without data, you're just another person with an opinion, and that's definitely true. You can ask a colleague or friend what the industry is doing, but that's all based on like just one use case or based on assumptions. And we make like assumptions clear with like independent data from the community. Yeah. So it's definitely worth your 10 minutes to fill it in and as well to get the results back and help us to shape the results.
You got it.
So one of the results in 2020, if I can spoil a bean, is we talk about DaaS and public cloud, and it looks that everyone is moving to that direction. But if you look at the results in 2020, so the preview results, in 2020, the majority, 62% of workload machines is fully on-premises. 31% is hybrid, and 6% is public cloud. That is the reality today. The interesting question is what will happen in 2021, especially with like work from home and telecommute movements, which is happening like big time right now. I see it myself. I know Christian is witnessing the same. There's so much demand for work from home for obvious reasons, and also public cloud is big time in that. Even so that, some public cloud providers sometimes find it challenging to provide the resources. That's an interesting signal, I would say. So
and some major vendors will also force the speed of change. There are some out there that won't allow you to manage hybrid environments from on-prem anymore, right? They'll force you to do that from the cloud, and I think that might be painful at first, but on the long run, it will force you to make a change and to speed up things.
Yep. So the DaaS cloud space or control plane as a service with workload machines on-prem or with workload machines in cloud or both. Yeah, I think that's a big thing because all the big vendors are, I would say, pushing and active in that space. Microsoft, Citrix, VMware, Amazon, Nutanix, different vendors are all in that, focused on that. So yeah, that means year over year things are moving in that direction. If you want or doesn't want to do that, the vendors are heading in that direction, and that's the reality for many of us.
So to come back a little bit more to the results of 2019, we always ask the question there: which vertical is like the most popular one in using like desktop virtualization, and healthcare, financial, and government are most of the times the top three, and that's mostly due to regulation as well. But coming back to remote working, work from home, all the things, the negative and the positive things that we can do with technology during the COVID-19 scenario. Think about like employers that are not very convinced about doing remote working because it could be that they don't trust their employees or something like that. But now they are forced to do it because that's the only option in a lockdown situation. And I honestly think that they will be convinced after when this dust is settling and we can go back to work to the physical offices again, that they see the benefit of that as well, and they do more, or they allow more remote working for their employees. So it's a positive thing in a negative situation. Let's sum it up like that.
Yeah, you got it. So we've talked a lot about the back end, DaaS and what have you. What are you seeing? Any changes from the endpoint side, the front end side?
Yeah, big changes. I just checked the report early this morning, and Mark, Christian, jump in as well. But so 2020, Linux thin client is 29%, which means 29% of the devices in the customer organization are being used to access single user, multi-user, on-prem or public cloud, virtual apps and desktops. Windows laptop is 22%, Windows desktop is 17%, and thin client Windows is 11%. So thin client Linux 29, Windows laptop 22, Windows desktop or workstation 17, and thin client Windows is 11. So if you combine Windows, yes, it's the majority. Windows thin client, Windows laptop, Windows desktop. But thin client Linux is, I would say, skyrocketing in 2020. Interesting given. There's no data which thin client vendor. That would be an interesting question for many of us in the industry as well. But the question is more about what kind of OS is being used, and that's also a very interesting data point. I'm not sure at the top of my head, Mark. Maybe you know what the results in 2019 and earlier, or maybe Christian knows how that was. This is the 2020 number.
Yeah, no, I have the results in front of me actually. So what we saw last year is most popular was a laptop, then a desktop workstation, and then a thin client Windows, and then a thin client Linux on the fourth place. Now, everything stayed the same except for thin client Linux is now on top, right? So they moved from position 4 to position 1, and the others went down. In percentages, it's hard to tell because the survey is still running, but it's a significant change there, which I think is good. I mean, if we look at the whole game going to desktops in the cloud or moving them, what's the deal with the full client there that you also have to manage separately? That also takes all of the licenses. So it's interesting, and I also see organizations making bold moves here. My girlfriend, she works at a healthcare organization, and they're just jumping from the one solution completely to the other, right? Just like overnight, like boom, happening. And these were changes that if you'd asked me a year ago, like, will companies do that? Well, not that fast. And now you see them left and right just doing it. And current situations are I think, just speeding that up.
Yeah, and elaborating a little bit on that, coming back to why do you pick an desktop virtualization environment? Your centralized management, that kind of stuff. So with a Thin Client, you can strap your complete desktop infrastructure, your environment on the cloud or on-prem or hybrid, just doing overnight. And with a physical like laptop like scenario, you would physically like touch that like laptop because of that to make that shift and refurbish like the image, etc. And that's the flexibility of using like a Thin Client endpoint, whether it's like Linux or Windows operating system that runs on top. So all those things together, I think in that shift moving to the cloud, that simplifies as well the migration path. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why we see the shift as well in increasing the endpoints in the survey of 2020 in the results.
Yeah. No, I think it's also a good way to keep data within your organization. I'm seeing left and right now, people are all emailing out documents and using Dropbox and WeTransfer just to keep their business going, right? And I think nobody's really looking at GDPR and privacy at the moment like, I know it's important, but hey, we got to keep our business afloat. But like we just discussed, this working from home scenario is probably going to stay for a while. So IT departments will have to go get a grip on things again and get that data contained within a safe perimeter again. And whether that's a cloud service or in a virtual desktop, it doesn't really matter. But what people are doing now, it's not a scenario that you can keep on doing and get away with, even legally in the up and coming future. So I think maybe if we start to look at the trend data, that might actually be a worry that we see emerging in the people that fill the survey later.
I love it. I've always said, a secure endpoint is a better way to compute with a remoting solution, because at the end of the day, why are you managing both? So I love seeing that data, and I love hearing your responses.
Yeah, and also people are just working on their kid's computer now, right? It's what they have. This is what we have at home. Let me just work on the company data on this machine where, my kid is also downloading games or doing God knows what. Yeah.
Well, wasn't that's the Citrix story. Anywhere, any device, any place, any, time, right? And, to be able to, make that into a usable endpoint that's secure, that accomplishes everything you talked about, essentially managed. That's powerful. So,
and then doing that with a good performance also maybe, and I shouldn't say performance, but we always ask the question: are you satisfied with the current VDI and server-based computing solution? And this is actually one of my favorite questions, because it's a very human, relatable question. Like, hey, are you satisfied or not? And one of the answers is always: is the IT department and your user, are they drinking champagne together? And until this year, until 2019, we've always seen that number go down, which amazed me, because technology is there, right? VDI is there since 2012. Storage problem solved, GPU problem solved. Technology is maturing. All the vendors have done 10 versions by now. So I couldn't get it. Why is this number still going down as we get better with this technology? And now for the first time, I'm seeing in the data that actually both IT admins and end users are answering like, hey, this is actually not half bad.
I love it.
So that's really cool.
That is really cool.
What I also find interesting, if I can just spoil a couple of beans in the 2020 results, is that okay, Doug?
Yeah, I love it. Please.
So single user, so Win10 in 2020 results are close to 60%, 85%. Win7 is 12%. Linux is 7%. So that's and there's also like a Win server one as well. But my point is, like, Win10 is like big time ahead of Win7, which is a good thing. Win7 is 12, Win10 is close to 60%. So interesting to see that, and that's also what I think Mark mentioned earlier. Like the future initiatives is not Win10 anymore, because the majority, not all, but the majority of people who filled in the survey already are using Win10. maybe with its challenges with different versions and trying up to speed with different versions with each challenges. But yeah, that's an interesting one. What I see.
And some of the things that I found interesting talking about the 2020 results is the older operating system, multi-session, multi-user, server-based computing, but as well the new kid on the block, which is Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session. So if we take the preliminary results of today, or like a couple of hours back when we did the outputs report synchronization, what we see is that 2016 server is still the most popular one on that side, but the runner-up is server 2019 and as well Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session. So yeah, we see definitely that in the top three, and server 2012 R2 is being used currently as well. That's still supported till I think October 2025 or something like that. So yeah, that's all visible right now, and we already see the shift in the movement to a newer operating system. So I think organizations are asking themselves the question if they want to stick on server 2016. So that's a great platform and support it till to the date that I just shared. But maybe potentially make the shift as well if they want to stay on-prem to server 2019. Because they get some Office 365 benefits because of that as well, like OneDrive files on demand is one great example. Or maybe make the shift to Azure to Windows Virtual Desktop with Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session. So one remark there is that Windows 10 multi-session is chained to Windows Virtual Desktop, so you need to have a partner solution for that as well. But yeah, as part of the results, we definitely see an interest in the movement going to that as well, to Windows Virtual Desktop.
Yep. Another bean to spoil is GPU. So even more people are using GPUs in 2020. So 2020 is no GPU was 31%, which means close to 70% is yes. We are using GPUs in our single-user, multi-user, on-prem or public cloud environment, which was roughly 60% in 2019. NVIDIA is leading that pack big time. I would almost say AMD is non-existing, unfortunately. I think it's healthy and good for the ecosystem if AMD becomes bigger. And we also expect AMD to become bigger. You see it already happening in public cloud with Azure and v4 machines. And also hopefully also in the on-prem space over time that AMD is entering that space again. And hopefully this time bigger than in the past. I think competition is healthy. We don't see AMD really in the numbers yet. NVIDIA, of course, big time with different GPU boards.
So to chime into the public cloud part of GPUs, so we asked the question as well, which GPUs do you use for your virtual applications and desktops in the cloud? And yeah, we see that the vast majority is using a non-GPU. So I remember a talk that I had with Benny Tritch. Folks on the call probably know Benny. He's a well-known guy in the community, and he always makes the comparison between look at your laptop today. Do you use a GPU in your laptop? And yeah, most of the people are, I think like 99% of the people always respond, yeah, we have a GPU in our laptop. So why should you use a virtual desktop without the GPU? And then you get more the question, okay, that raises the cost a little bit. And then you get the question, okay, do we invest that amount of money to make the change to use GPU on the cloud as well? And as you said, the new NV4 series on Azure, they have a different pricing, and that could create like a new use case as well in starting with a GPU instead of a non-GPU, because the cost is not like that different anymore. And that's what we see as well in that question of 2020. So the vast majority still uses a non-GPU accelerated virtual desktop by 51% or 52% if we raise it up and make it equal to a number. But the second one is NVIDIA, and the third option, or the third most filled in results is around the NV4 series based on AMD. So I definitely think that we will see a shift there coming in this year and as well next year.
Yep.
Okay, guys, I have 2 more questions. We don't have a lot of time, so let's get through these. These are pretty simple questions for you guys. But since the survey is still running, and this whole COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you choose to call it, epic pandemic is upon us. Do you see a change in the results? Are you able to graph that, and do you think that'll be in the actual paper?
We'd have to see. So correlation has never been our strong suit. We've always just done a raw analysis of the questions. Now we can do these things, and I think we should find some time to do just this. In the raw responses, I mean, our last question is an open question. What keeps you awake at night? I noticed that 2 people there answered that this was critical for them, but we're also, while we're recording this, quite at the start of this thing. So I can imagine that the people in IT who are hit the hardest, who are still building their environments, getting everything ready, might be a bit overloaded and are not currently filling the survey. So from a data perspective, it's interesting to see what will happen the next few weeks there when things hopefully quiet down a little bit again.
Yeah, I
What I find
definitely.
interesting in that question is that prior to COVID-19, like 3-4 weeks ago, when we started the survey, the majority of responses to that open question Mark mentioned is more around security, zero-day, ransomware. I've seen many responses to that, and which is also like something for sure. What keeps people awake at night, for sure. And
I think we can answer that question from Doug, like in a couple of weeks, as Mark was saying, because when you're in a COVID-19 scenario, you want to get up to speed as soon as possible, like yesterday instead of today. So they are not their number one priority is not filling in the VDI Like survey. So getting some awareness during this podcast and on social media after this, I definitely think that will help to raise the amount of attendees of filling in the survey, and then we can make the correlation. But I definitely think that will result in more interest. We will see that. But the question is more: do the people that implemented like a new environment based on things around COVID-19 fill in our survey? So we need to get more attention on that side as well because of that.
It would be very interesting to do a time graph on it and see what what changed about the time we were all really forced to take notice of what's going on today and see if there's any drastic changes. I have another question about the survey itself and the results. Do you feel the type of person that takes a survey like this is more forward thinking than someone who is not in the community and not more willing to share their views and experiences? And do you think that could possibly skew the results? Does that question make sense?
So I think we have a variety of people that fill in the survey. So most likely people that fill in the survey are curious and keen to learn what we brought together in terms of questions. Because when you read questions, you learn as well what we think as part of VDI Like Pro that the industry will do. Because we change questions every year, we make them different. We make the results different, so you can see, okay, this is a new entry point. So this could be probably something for us as well. And when they correlate that with the results eventually of the audience, I definitely think that forward-looking people will like this survey, but just people that are system engineers and implement like virtual desktop technologies, I think they will be more interested because they like to share their numbers probably. That is what I learned from my community friends and talk with them.
And we have learned about
numbers is that 48% of the people who fill in the survey is in that bucket Christian mentioned. So engineer, admin, architect is like almost 50% of the people who fill in the survey are engineer, admin, or architect, and 25% is consultant, and then you have vendors and sales or management, things like that.
Well, actually, you don't know this yet, Ruben, but I'm looking at the live results because we just did an email campaign to all of our past participants, and this changed the numbers dramatically. So now 50% of the people that filled the survey are engineers, administrators, in actual organizations. So I think that's very useful. So with consultants, we typically ask take one of your customers and fill the environment according to what they are doing. it's always a little bit of a mixed bag what you see there. This is one of those things that's good to correlate on as well. Like, hey, if we look at consultants, typically, I'd imagine they're a little bit ahead of the curve, right? Because they're always advising the newest technologies. But we can actually prove those points. And one of the things that we know for sure, for example, is that there is a certain Citrix bias in our survey. That's not because we are a particularly big fan of a vendor, or not the other way around, but the Citrix community seems to be more active. And it shows in certain questions where, for example, if we ask what is the most popular EUC event to attend this year, we see that the same amount of people is visiting Citrix Synergy as they are VMworld, which is impossible. Also, by the way, the same amount of people is visiting E2EVC, so Alex must be stoked. But there are certain communities that are more inclined to react to these kinds of things than others, and that's fine. And we've learned over the years how to identify those.
So that is one of the new questions as well. So we can see and make the correlation between the roles actually. So that's interesting to watch as part of the final results. Maybe you can say something, Mark, as well about the type of countries that respond to the survey, because I have the the survey report from yesterday, and you have a more accurate one as well.
Yeah, I think I'm sharing my screen now, even for the viewers. That's just us, but we can see the world map here, and it's all over. So the top 3 is typically United States, the Netherlands, and the UK, and that's still the case. Germany 4th place, and then it becomes interesting to see, that the numbers get smaller, but it's still relatively good. I think we almost nailed every country in Europe. Yeah, Portugal missing there. So let's see if we have every state in the US. No, we need a few more states. So if you're listening to this from Portugal or the United States, or any other place, and you have 10 minutes, please help out the community. I mean, we'll give back the results to you. It's unfiltered, unbiased, and just go to VDI Like website and hit start.
Hey, and Mark and Christian, also we picked 3 random people who filled in the survey, and we'll send a Dutch goodie box to people. So stroopwafels, cookies, stickers, maybe some Dutch windmill miniatures. We'll see what we can find.
Yeah, we do need to order new cookies, because I've already eaten half of the cookies that were here. But
you can see that we work more from home and we eat more, right? So we definitely need to go back to the gyms. So just to sum that up, so we have a very easy, short link, that redirects you directly to where you can find everything around that, and as well the link to the survey. So if you go to VDILikeAPRO.com/survey, that automatically redirects you to the survey and some interesting results and the package that you can run. So easy button to help us with that 10-minute fill-in task. So
help us, help yourself. That's a good one. Exactly.
I love it. You guys answered or did my last question, and that is, where do they need to go to learn more? I have one more question though: is how much longer is the survey running? When do you have a hard
we had, I think, end of April, maybe 3rd week of April. But we'll see how that goes. Maybe because of COVID-19, we keep it a little bit longer. But not too long. It's good to share results, and it's good to have a stick in the ground that people really focus on that date. And right now the date is end April.
Yeah. So the original plan that we had was doing the release of the results of 2020 on the E3 event in Madrid. But we probably most likely that is not gonna happen. So we will replace it for a virtual event, and we plan it around that time frame. So please take note and pay attention on the website as well, and we will do an announcement and all the things, the links, what you need for that very soon from now. So pay attention on VDILikeAPRO.com. But first fill in the survey, by the way.
Yeah, and if you need anything in the meantime from us, just hit us up on the social media. We're always happy to help if you want to use this data in your own presentations. That's cool. just let us know. We always appreciate to know what is happening.
Yep.
And,
or if you want to write a blog and have maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 pre-results to warm up your audience, right? As Mark mentioned, just reach out to us. Contact details are on the website. Yeah, I think the email address is like team@vdilikeapro.com. Is it?
Yeah, I think most people just hit us up on Twitter anyway. So
right.
Twitter, LinkedIn, email, it's fine.
Yep, all good.
You got it.
Thanks,
guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know we have a hard stop, so I need to respect that. We can talk all day long about this. It's absolutely wonderful. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this with us and share so many of the 2020 results so far. And I can't wait to see the survey. I loved what Christiaan said about that the survey itself, and Mark said also, is that just by reading it, you learn a lot, not just about the results, but about the industry itself. Yes. And that's what I like about it. So I think just fabulous what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for all you guys do for the community and for the industry as a whole.
Yep. Likewise, Doug. Thank you for being a great host today.
Thanks.
Dankeschön.
Dankeschön. On that note, I'll throw another German word out there. Tschüss. See you later.
Wiedersehen.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Dankjewel. Okay, that concludes another successful episode of DABCC Radio. What do I say? Thank you guys so much for taking the time. Really great. Ruben and Christiaan and Mark. I love what you guys are doing. And folks out there listening, definitely, if you've not already taken the survey, please do. And if you have, thank you. What these guys are doing is absolutely neat, and the results are amazing. They actually sent me a PDF of some of the preliminary results, and it's just phenomenal. So I love this each and every year. It's always a fun time when the survey comes out. So very fascinating stuff. Data is a phenomenal thing. So without further ado, I just want to say again, thanks. Thanks to the guys for taking the time to do this with me, and thanks for all you guys for listening. So I hope you stay safe in this strange and turbulent time, and enjoy your time at home with your family. And what else do I say? But take care and have a great day, everybody. Thank you for listening to DABCC Radio.
DABC.
Say it again, DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again, DABCC?
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.